So Emmanuel Bright Kweku took us to the tech junction in Kumasi, but should I do some Eminem for you? Guess who's back? Back again. Yes, he's back. The king is back. Kwasi Kyei Darkwah. He's back in the studio with more fireworks. Off air, we're talking about a few things, and he was already, firing at me, and I told him to pause. Don't fire at me. Fire for the audience that is waiting for you. But KKD is back in the studio.
I was firing at you because you are part of the fourth estate.
Right.
And whether you like it or not, the fourth estate is part of every nation's government. There's the presidency, there is the judiciary, then there are the parliamentarians, who are the legislature, and then there is the media. So if the media does not hold these three to account, people get away with murder.
The unofficial fourth realm.
Unofficial? You are official.
Well, I'll put it that way because it was grafted, even if you want to talk about horticulture, into our system. Because like we know it, the Baron de Montesquieu and the rest will tell us about the checks and balances of the three organs of government. Yes. But I agree with you,
are the checks
have that crucial role. But I'll put a question to you. The media.
Before the question.
We're only as strong.
Let us observe culture and tradition.
Sure.
When you go to somebody's home, they give you water. But whether or not they give you water, you give them a little something. So here is a little something I brought for you to wet your whistle.
Thank you. So giving me some very delicate...
And here, more importantly, is a symbol from our culture. Which
another Idinkra symbol.
Which says, Akokonai tiaba na enkumba. Akokonai tiaba na enkumba. So the feet of the hen, with the claws on it, it may step on a child,
or the chick, but it will not crush it.
I want to use the child because of the literal translation. It may step on its child, but it does not kill it. So when you have your people, be they your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, or even your child, if they step on you with the feet of the hen, they may correct you, but they won't kill you. And if you will listen to correction, you will not fail.
Thank you so much. Mo. Near Jumayo. That's a moe, by the way. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing me the honors. I know. I wanted to put it so that it will be visible, at least somehow, as the show goes on. Since you started on a proverbial note, I like your gray, by the way. You've not left it like this.
The thing is, I don't like growing hair in my face. But my sweetheart looked at me one early morning with the...
Stop?
With a scruffy face. I like to call it scruffy face. and she says, I think I like it. And I said, but you said it makes you itch in the face when I touch you at night. And she says, let's keep it for 4 days and see what happens. So this is the 4th day.
Well, congratulations. Thank you for joining the gang.
Thank you.
Especially when, we heard recently from a member of parliament saying that there are a lot of coconut heads with beards who don't. You know what I'm talking about.
Was that a pineapple head who said it? Or was that a melon head?
Anyway, so let's get into it. Since you started on a proverbial note, this may not technically be a proverb, but yesterday, I want us to start from the president's address on the economy. He said, Sikam pedede. L'argent n'aime pas le bruit.
You speak French very well.
Yes. He even went into the French.
All of culture is embedded in language. And when he said it, I felt heartbroken. Because that was a statement to the populace who were speculating about where we are going and how the city is performing badly. He thinks if you talk down the money, then the money will go down. No, that's not true.
It isn't?
No, if you talk down Joy FM will not come crumbling down so long as they have a success criteria and are working assiduously to ensure that the success criteria is in place. As a French scholar too, I think the better one he could have used was what is actually about his governance, which is l'argent n'y a pas d'odeur. Sika nipa mpan Because if you look at the fact that in Kufuor's regime, in Kufuor's administration, a man who was known to be corrupt eventually was appointed by Nanado to become the head of the Public Procurement Authority, then it tells you that he has no problem with money, no matter the smell of it. L'argent n'y a pas d'odeur. C'est que ni pampan. Et d'agotemu, if you crumb for ho, if you ni papa ho, and fun ho. And have you heard this nonsense about the president's daughter being given a contract to paint the bridges? I can list the 12 top artists in Ghana today because I have bought from at least 10 of them since I was 18 years old when I started collecting paintings. Sam Bentil is one of them. Atu Delaki is one of them.
These are names I recognize.
Kudo is one of them. My brother Nick Kowalski is one of them. Larry Otu is one of them. If we have a painting contract, how does it go to a member of my family because I'm the president?
But have you run your checks to find out why she got the contract?
You see, I'm literate.
That is assuming she actually got the contract?
I am a trained journalist. I'll tell you something. You see, common sense will tell you that sometimes you don't do something just because of the optics. So the optics is such that when you hear that somebody who you have appointed, like the PPA was doing, is giving contracts to themselves or somebody in their family, you will have no moral authority to challenge them. Now, Mahama built an airport, I'm told. Go and find out. And I'm not going to accuse anybody, but go and find out who is in charge of the duty-free shops over there.
You're talking of Terminal 3.
So who is in charge of the duty-free shops over there? Are they also linked to the presidency? Are we running a government of selfishness and greed and then telling the poor people who are struggling that Sikampe Dede? When a young man has died because of 2 cedis, a fare had been raised from 5 cedis 50 pesos to 7
I know the incident you're referring to.
Whatever pesos.
Right.
And he was fighting over this and he's been killed. Look, Sika Emperof, that's what we say. But Dede, more na mama Dede abanti na monsanka se Sika Dede.
As in government.
Because you are giving yourselves all the contracts. Everybody is suffering. You are the one who was flying in a plane which you, with your own money, which you say you had before you became president, would never rent. And now we are suffering. Who says Sika Dede? Listening to that speech yesterday, which was a total failure, because as a professional speechwriter, as a man trained as a journalist in mass media, brands and culture practice, I can tell you, a speech must have some conviction, it must have some passion, the inflection must be brilliant, and at the end of it, it must call people to action. What was the call to action? You are begging.
Mr. President was he was telling traders, look, I beg of you, don't hike prices and all of that.
You are not telling, you are begging them. You see, if you have good rules, you don't beg the one who sweeps the gutter to sweep his gutter. If you have good rules, when you are an auditor and you go into any environment, you can tell that the control environment is bad, it's murky, and you fix it. And there was an elephant in the room. Our big problems in Ghana today are threefold. Number 1 is the economy. Number 2 is drinking water. And number 3 is nepotism. The economy, drinking water, nepotism. Go and see the Minister for Roads. Was that the most important thing? Selfish people in government and nobody wants to talk about it. You will die too. Tread softly, speak gently. But if you have to raise your voice against injustice. Raise your voice against wickedness. Raise your voice against people who preach one thing and do another.
You speak of selfishness. The president talks about 30% of his office holders, having their salaries cut. That is going to be rolled on, is going to be continued, and all of that.
Here, let me help them. Let me help the president here because he's a man I have loved for 35 years. Now, another thing, I went to my father, who is 84 years old. He wasn't well. So I went and spent a week with him, sitting down, conversing, even recording some of our conversations and just laughing. And my father had ordered that somebody brings him 50 young coconut trees. And I said, what for? He says, Kwasi, I'm planting them. And I said, Dad, It is my job to do that. And I says, no, Kwasi. I am planting trees. They will grow. I may not enjoy the shade or the fruit. But that is what we old men must do. So tell your old men in government, they must be planting trees for the children. These are the words of my father, Openin Kwasi Darkwah of Clan Ediana of Adansi Dompoase. He says, tell your old men in government that they should be planting trees, the shade of which they know they will not sit in, the fruits of which they know they will not enjoy, but not plucking the fruits for themselves and their wives and their children and their wives' children. It's wrong. Let me tell the president what he needs to do. That 30%, let them keep it. Because if they stop the corruption, they will need that 30%. Rather, sack every deputy minister tomorrow morning. We have too many of them. Reduce your 120 ministers immediately to 40 ministers. You see, Cote d'Ivoire, Ouattara realized the way the winds are blowing, the winds of change are coming. So he, without anybody asking, is already reducing the number of his ministers. And he already has less than 60 ministers. And he wants to bring them to less than 40. He's working on it. You have 120 who have failed us miserably. And you are telling us that's because 4 years...
Recently, he was telling us about how good his ministers had been. He even put out 5 excellent ones. Are you disputing that?
If nobody remembers anything I say today because I may die tomorrow morning, you know why? I have learned that this world is not our own. We're all just passing through. And every day we must live as if it were the last day of our lives.
Some good old Jim Reeves for us.
If nobody remembers anything I say today, please remember this. Yesterday, I listened to our president for about half an hour. And I learned for sure he's in office, but not in power.
How exactly do you mean?
In office.
Let me just repeat what he said. So yesterday he says he listened to Mr. President
for about half an hour.
For about half an hour.
And I learned he's in office.
He's in office.
Not in power.
He says the president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is in office, but not in power. Please explain. Expatiate.
What is Parliament? What does Parliament do?
It makes laws.
Thank you. If the people who make laws, and the ones on your team, so this is what? Bayern Munich versus what? Barcelona? And the ones on your team are saying, no, you're failing us. But we can tell you directly you're failing us. So we're going to put the blame on your finance minister for now. Eventually, we will get to you. Are you really in power? If you give a speech of 30 minutes, and instead of telling us how ashamed you are, that you let some of the people you appointed, you let some of the people who you put around you who had no common sense to tell you, Emperor, you have no clothes, but made you sign or have somebody you have authorized sign to go and rent a plane your nation cannot afford. And they come and give us the stupid justification of, oh, but that way he can have a shower in the sky. And you, knowing full well that we don't have the horses if we create the generals, have made 16 regions when we need only 6 based on the ethnic groups of Ghana. Cannot even think of having hospitals so people do not die needlessly, but are thinking of a cathedral, not knowing and understanding the church is in your heart, not in buildings. And that buildings may be built with money from corruption, but hearts that are selfless and that have kindness will not be corrupted. How are you in power? You are in office. You're not in power.
The parliamentarians, and I know you were referencing the 80 plus members of parliament from the majority side.
Some of whom
interestingly.
Some of whom also did not sign.
Yes, well, some of whom did not sign.
And some of whom are also claiming that they were bribed when they went to speak to the president. And you know this?
That has been parried by the majority side.
That once somebody in a position of authority says anything, even it is a brain fart, like those words of the minister for roads when he says you're going to convert the toll booths into toilet facilities. And I was wondering, are people going to fly with drones and drop into the toilets whilst the cars are passing by at full speed? Even if it is a brain fart, when people in authority speak, listen attentively and look for the rhyme and the reason.
Now, going back to those members of parliament, I mean, it's a novelty in our Fourth Republic to see that happen because of the nature of our politics.
It did not happen because they are kind. Not because
right.
they are brilliant. It happened because their constituents told them
right.
you are going out of office.
But they could have decided not to go down that road. I just want to find out, is it time for Ken Ofori-Atta to go?
I saw somebody who had used the brand of KFC. I don't know why about 22 people sent it to me, but I don't open everything that comes to me because some people send me information that makes them think, oh, this country is going to the dogs. Some of the information I choose not to use because I have not had my researchers verify it yet. And some of the information I choose not to use because I cannot verify them internationally. And I have to check with other journalists from around the world because some journalists outside Ghana, unfortunately, have more information on the corruption in your country than you who live here because you are blinded by the nonsense and the niceties. If you would go out there and find how many of your own people are stealing this country blind, who are actually in positions of authority, it will be cause for suicide. But if you think of it seriously, those MPs who stood up to speak have acted with courage. Courage which they got from their constituents. Because don't forget this, because of the way our government is set up, nearly every MP whose government is in power is angling for a ministerial position. So they try as much as possible not to offend the president. But I think they have gotten to a point where they think, if this president even gives me an appointment, I don't want it. Ken must go. Ken must go because there has been too much thievery under him. Thievery which we simply want to call, oh, it's unethical. But I'm telling you, if you're living at home where 2 children have sickle cell, one of the children has a spinal injury, and you have an uncle in the home who says, things have gotten so bad, we need to go borrow money to go get surgery for these children, right? And that uncle then goes to see somebody from whom he can borrow money. All you need is $100 million. And the person from whom he's borrowing money will also ensure that he makes $9.8 million. Ghanaians, will you trust that uncle? That uncle is Ken Ofori-Atta. We go when you must. We go ejano. We papa be bobra pa ayebi. We go neni masi. We go achim for any masi maybe I can dance. If it's a dance for yase, and achim, and you kuyapim, and enzima. We go when you masi. When you briadie. And I want every Ghanaian to go and read about Bernie Madoff. You see, when you see money managers have more questions, plenty. And I know some stupid person will go and stand on television and defend them because they have spat mucus into his mouth and treat him like a dog. And eventually, what is happening at the airport will also come out. When you think of it really, why? How much money do you alone want to have? Why? Data Bank alone, how many of your staff are in government at the moment? How much money does Nanado owe you? In fact, Parliament must ask this question.
Do you think it's a matter of how much the president, how the president is beholden to him?
I think, you see, the thing about thinking is that anybody who thinks is likely to cause offense. Because every time you think, people who are disingenuous will be offended. And every time you think, and especially ask questions, people who are doing wrong will feel uncomfortable. I think the president owes him. Because if the president doesn't owe him, what is it that is so beholden to this gentleman that with what he has done with our economy, he still has to be at post? It goes for every minister, not only him. Those who have done well, keep them at post. If the president says he wants to fire the Greater Accra Regional Minister, I'll be one of those who will go pleading on his behalf because I think he has done a sterling job for our motherland, Ghana. In fact, with a minister like that, you don't even need a mayor in Accra and Tema because he is doing their jobs. But some too have failed us. And I'm saying, go to Bernie Madoff, one of the so-called most successful money managers in the world. Do you know how he ended? At 70 years, he went to jail. At 80 years, he died. But when he was going to jail at the age of 70, he was given an imprisonment of 150 years. Some people call it, bad money management. Some people call it corruption. No, it is Ewi. He's a thief. Thief. Call people thieves. Don't say corrupt. Corrupt is, sexifying it. You are a thief. You lead us to go and borrow more money than any government has borrowed in the last 50 years. Only for us to find out that the very two people that the president has appointed, one as Minister of Finance and another as Minister of Finance at the presidency. What nonsense.
And I was about to come to that.
What is that?
Because the MPs also roped him into the conversation. Are you calling both of these people thieves?
Are you aware that my rant of 17th August has led to Parliament asking for this to be the first thing that is discussed? I am only a citizen. My power is in my household. I am the president of the Kyei Darkwah household. That does not mean when you are president of Ghana, I relinquish my common sense. Free SHS is a good idea. I think it's a stupid idea for we who can afford to pay. Because you see, it is similar to Kwasi Kyei Darkwah's thing that he did in England. Instead of giving the poor some alleviation, he'd rather cut taxes all across so he can still please his banker bosses. See, you need to understand this, Ghanaians. Learn and understand that most of the people in politics are funded by people with some money. And like I told you, l'argent n'est pas d'odeur. Sikane ni pampine. And they don't care if the person who is funding them is an axe murderer, is a drug dealer, is a thief, is somebody who puts more money on top of the contracts. Those people will be rewarded. What happened with LaBianca? She's still there. She's on the Council of State. Who cares? She's a good woman. I know her personally. Fine woman. She's a businesswoman. Wherever there's a loophole, she will take it. But you see, I spoke with a criminal investigator in England who told me this. King, I want you to share this with your people in Ghana because I have seen some of your things on social media. I said, how? He said, you won't believe it. But it was sent to me by a Nigerian and a South African. And I said, which one?
Interesting.
He says, which one? He says, the one about loyalty. I've seen others, but I think everyone for which you have spoken in your local language, get somebody to do the translation and share it as well, because you're speaking wisdom not only for your country, but for the world. This criminal investigator told me that people who are selfish and greedy often have some veins of criminality, and no matter where you put them, they will look for loopholes, whether in the window, the door, the ceiling, in the law or contracts. People who are criminally minded will find loopholes and use them. So it is up to the people who are in government.
It's like that saying, opportunity makes the thief.
The thieves will find the opportunity by any means necessary. So it is then up to the people in government to follow the thieves. In fact, at a certain point in time, employ the thieves as they did with Abernali. Catch Me If You Can. That's another movie I want everybody to go and see. To work for the investigations departments of the United States to show them that this is how criminals think and this is what they do. One of the things criminals do is they give free money. They act as though they were, what's the word? You're a logophile like me. The word, they give free money all the time. Philanthropists.
Oh, right.
So in their philanthropy, you do not question how they make their money. So they will give money to your children, right? And after they have given money to your children, you will thank them and you will send your children to carry food to their home. Do you know what happens to your children when they go there? Whether they are used for rituals or they are used for some sort of slavery, you never know. So whenever somebody is giving for free, take it if you're in need, but always question the one that gives that you don't understand. And that is why in England, when you give people stuff for free, they go like, why are you doing this for me? Why?
So let me ask you, you say that the president's failure is not being put on him, but the MPs are putting it on his finance ministers.
For now. Because
they can't put it on him.
At the end of the day.
You also say that there is corruption in the system and that these people are thieves. So how then would you categorize the president? Who is he?
Then he is an overseer of thievery. Because, really, if this contract about the $25 million, and I don't understand why in more than 48 hours, people that are employed under the presidency have not stepped up to say, this is not true. The lady is a best-selling fine artist, and she won the contract fairly. And these are the people who bid for that contract. And then we can compare that great fine artist to Sam Benton.
But you know that can also be arranged, like we've seen.
No, we shouldn't be arranging stuff. You see,
in the past.
we have tolerated.
No, I'm saying that we can have a whole, a bid and put all those people there, but we already know who is going to win.
But you like your voice, so I've told you, you like your voice. Man, you like your voice. I'm saying, let us stop the stupidity of those arrangements and let everybody bid. Look, let me tell you what. Look. The president's daughter, the minister's daughter, the pastor's daughter, whoever, everybody. I'm not saying give them same outcomes, but give them same opportunities. As for outcomes I can't be sure, but give them same opportunities. There are people who may have gone to school with the daughter of the greatest minister in this country, but the daughter may have been a dumbass. There are more brilliant people than that daughter. You cannot say because you're in a position of authority, you would take what is for the state and just give it to your child. It is wrong. And if the president hasn't had anybody speak on it up till now, then I can tell you something. As a trained communicator as well, and a trained brand architect as well, as a trained cultural practitioner, that when there is a rumor that is egregious to the position of people in authority and thus to the nation, you address it immediately. That is not to say you get up and address every rumor, but especially when it is about the first family, you squash it. And you see, you must be like one of the wives of the king. You must be beyond reproach. Beyond reproach. You must do things in a manner as to be beyond reproach. Look, after listening to this, right? I'm on a conference call with 7 different people. And you know what one is saying? KKD, you had a conversation with us 12 months ago. And you said we should ban all unnecessary or, not so vital imports. 12 months ago. The president has said it now, and he's not even saying it as a matter of urgency. Is it because big business have lobbied him? Because it's like we still are going to run the same thing for another 6 months before we act. Look, every one of you must start seeing yourself as the president. Every one of you. Because every one of you is educated, and every one of you has been brought up with some modicum of intelligence and some modicum of dignity. Think as though you were the president. And ask yourself, I sat with 3 young men in Kumasi just 3 weeks ago, and I told them, whoever is the president must do these 3 things immediately. One of them is called Nana Kwame Duval. One of them works for a company that fixes windows. And one of them is called Kwame Kwachi. If you ask these 3 men, find them. They'll tell you the 3 things I said. One of them is to stop the importation of the not so needed products. You've had
what
6 years already.
What for you are the not so needed products that you speak
Why
of?
are you importing fruit juice? Why Jimmy? Why are you importing fruit juice? Wherever
South Africa, and all the other places.
I don't care.
Right.
Because of that, I told all my staff, I said, do me a favor. It's me you're doing a favor. And I told them this during the COVID. Before we went home, I said, do me a favor. Don't buy any box fruit juice any longer. When I go to Movenpick or any hotel in Ghana, I tell them specifically, are you squeezing your juice here? If they're not, I don't buy it.
And the interesting thing, on the back of the prices, it's now selling at around 35 cedis.
Your dear friends, Samuel Atamensa is your big brother, yeah? They started this thing on rice. Great idea. Why are we still importing rice? And someone say, if you don't import rice, we will starve. My brother, we will find ways of eating other things. You see, it is as though big business also has power over the people who make policy. It's just like the tobacco industry in America.
But it's lobbying. It happens in the U.S.
The gun law. Yes, but just because it happens in the U.S. must not happen here. Let us choose the wisdom of the U.S. and let us shun the stupidity of the U.S. To assume that the U.S. gets everything right means we are nincompoops. The UK doesn't get everything right either. The UK realized we got somebody in power, we just wanted color. We wanted optics. So we got a black person in power, of course, even from Ghana. On a CEO platform where I am, I stated categorically that whilst I wish him well because he's melanated, it saddens me to say he's ultra-conservative and his policies will fail the UK because he thinks the poor must be shunned and the rich must be protected. And exactly in his first policy, that's what he did.
So you saw his
now, your politics,
political demise coming,
and which is
it was written on the wall.
Which is why I hate to say it, but those who are die-hard party aficionados are next to imbeciles. Because you see, if your thinking does not start first with, is it true, is it false? Is it right, is it wrong? Right? Is it wise, is it foolish? But your first consideration is it MPP or NDC? You are next to an imbecile.
How then do you react
who do you need to tell you this?
Those MPs who came out forcefully and said, sack these two, and they pandered to what Mr. President supposedly told them? Let's forget about any bribery like you've alleged or suggested.
The president is a nice man.
Let's talk about...
No, but let me come to that. The president is a nice man. Everything aside, he is a nice man. There are those who accuse him of elitism and all that. I have never seen elitism in him. And whenever I've said that, people have said, but Kwasi, what do you also class into? Be able to treat you ye. By any class in the home fire in Yashi, I said, no. He's a genuinely nice person. So if you really sit with him and he pleads with you for something, you say, no, they must go today. He says, look, I do understand your concerns, but this is what I want, and I want you to help me, give me another 3 weeks. There's a great likelihood that most people will kowtow to that. That does not mean they were right in doing so. Because if they
So the MPs were wrong,
I think they were wrong.
Pandering to the wishes
Every single one of them, including my own dear brother Eugene. Eugene and I go a long way back. Handsome guy, brilliant guy. He has the ability to be president of this country one day. Smart guy. But he is loyal to his party. But I dare say, I think Eugene, like Chambers in his time, was more loyal to the country than to party. And we need more people like that. I can give you another example. Dr. Victor Bampo, who works with the United Nations, more loyal to his country than to party. We need more people like that. In fact, even Kanada, Japan, for all the criticisms you may make of him, is more loyal to his country than to party. So anybody who places party before country, please, when you are going to vote, muntiemi. Mo koto aba obia odone party esen ne man mesira mo ntuntia na munyi no na Ghana ye dooso enyansafo no nooso mpo a enyansafo no ye be 10% pe mo pam wo mu a obi betumi abeye adwuma no. Don't keep people whose loyalty is to party and to their belly and to their family and to their friends. Look, Atta Mills died. May his soul rest in peace. Maybe the most honest president we have ever had. Did Ghana stop? Chambers left. Did Ghana stop? Who is the most brilliant MP you have ever seen? They all left. Did Ghana stop? Why is it that when you see something is wrong, somebody is running a ministry which is supposed to be looking after our economic affairs, and we are failing, and you say you cannot let them go? What is it you are covering? Now the question is, what is it that you are covering that you guys need time to cover properly before somebody takes over? Questions. Questions. Give us answers.
Let me ask you something before I pose my next question. And I don't assume this would happen, but if the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, said today that I'm resigning, I'm no longer going to be president, I feel maybe my being here is not working for you, so get someone else. Of course, constitutionally, we know the Vice President would have to step in for him.
Then we'll be in more trouble.
Would be in more trouble?
Yeah, because isn't he the head of the economic management team unless he has been sidelined?
Are you feeding into the discourse where some people say he has been sidelined?
See, I am a thought leader. I don't feed into other people's discourse. Those who have known me from class 1 till now, when I used to come first in class, and when I stopped going to class so I could be playing my music, no. KKD has never been a
So let me put it to you. Has the Vice President been sidelined as the head of the economic management team?
Possibly. And if he hasn't spoken, then he's not a leader. If you are a leader and you have been sidelined, You don't go to your people and speak to them in your language when other people are there who do not understand your language and talk to them about how these people don't have respect us. They always want us to be vice president and that you should make sure that you vote for me. You speak to the nation because you are a leader in the nation. And you see, I put something on my Instagram and my TikTok and my Facebook. I addressed traditional leaders, political leaders, traditional leaders, political leaders, leaders, and those who actually lead. Just because you're a traditional leader or a political leader does not mean you actually lead. Some people actually lead. Some people are whisperers. They whisper into the ears of the people who are seated on the throne. But unfortunately, if you put a clown on the throne, the whole space where the throne is becomes a circus. And right now, we have somebody who is in office, but not in power. I don't want him to resign, but if things get so bad that he sees that the team he has surrounded himself with cannot help him succeed, you hired him. Fire them. Unless you want to tell the whole of Ghana that the NPP is so bad, everybody in the NPP is so aimless and daft that there is nobody else to replace these failing people who are running our economy.
Quick question. You say the president is in office but not in power. Who then is in power?
Oh, let's look for who are the whisperers. Let's look for the people who are benefiting in the malgovernance of this country.
Who are they?
Find them. That's your job.
You suggested.
I told you.
It said that if a blind man says he will stone you, his foot must be on something.
I have too much stuff that my researchers need to verify. Plenty. But look at those who are thriving. Are you aware that when Kwasi Kyei Darkwah made that announcement, some money managers in England made money? Are you aware? When that pound fell, those people made money. Were those his horse whisperers? So who are our horse whisperers? Is Oforiatta one of them? Is Edubuahin one of them? These are average people in great authority.
Which Edubuahin, the finance minister?
The one at the presidency.
Right.
Average people in great authority who are benefiting from the woes of 31 million people, one of whom was so distressed, he climbed up a mast and committed suicide.
You're talking of the Kaswa incident. My final bit to you as we wrap. We have less than a minute. The president said yesterday, I have total confidence in our ability to work our way out of our current difficulties. We are not afraid of hard work. We will triumph as we have triumphed many times before. Do you not agree with Mr. President? If so, why?
I disagree with the president. You are afraid of hard work. Because if you're not afraid of hard work, the people you put in positions of authority, you will search through all of the nation and pick them. Because anybody who is a manager of a team that does not look at the strengths of every member of his team and put the best foot forward is himself afraid of hard work. And don't say, we are confident, we are this, we are that, because I tell you, I don't speak for millions. I speak for only 20,000 Ghanaians. We don't have confidence in you. I'm sorry.
You don't have confidence in
I don't have the confidence in the president and this government. I don't. I am in a hurry for the next president to take over. Whether it is Bridget Jogbenuku, whether it is Kanu Furiata, whether it is John Mahama, the return of the Mahama, whether it is...
what makes you think that person will be any better?
No, what makes me think anyone will be any better? Let me give you the simple example. You live in a village where the chief has slaughtered 3 babies for ritual murder. So that chief has been asked to walk because he's a royal. His royal sandals have been taken off his feet and he's supposed to walk across the river and never come back again because we don't slaughter royals. That chief is going. Are you saying we should not install another chief because of all the people in the village? Nobody can be better than the one who slaughtered 3 children? That's the question to Ghanaians.
KKD. Yeah, that's the Bebre.
Nasinio.
Thank you for coming.
Love you, brother.
Thank you
for all the hard work you're doing. And let me tell you something. After our conversation, you found your mojo. You found your courage. And I looked at you and I said, at last, I am deeply proud of my brother. Speak truth to power, but not just to power. Speak truth to everyone, because some of the commoners are worse than some of the people in power. Some of the traders have hiked up their prices so much that if those traders were in power, they will give the airport duty-free section, plus the painting of the bridges, plus NADBO, plus so many other agencies which should be under other ministries to themselves.
Unfortunately, time is not on our hand, but on our side, I should say. But I just want to leave you with this, which is what KKD gave me today, together with the other drink that I'll not put on air.
Last thing.
30 seconds. No more.
It is easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. Ghana for Yafama Kwakwa. And so still, mother. Wake up, take the pillow from your head, and put some common sense and books in it.
Kwasi Kyei Darkwah joined me right here. I told you it was going to be a fiery Monday. Anyway, as we go, hello Ghana. Happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma soft drinks, and awake drinking water from Akakpo Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy drink, Puma soft drinks, and awake drinking water. Text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780#. Choose option 2, follow the prompts on all networks for free. You could be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You could also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and more instantly. So why are you wasting time? Don't waste any time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy drink, Puma soft drinks, and awake drinking water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Oh, do remember, terms and conditions apply. And that's how we wrap it up this morning. KKD is still in the studio looking at me as QB like, Charlie, what happened? I have something to tell you after this. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday morning. JoyNews Desk is up next. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. It's been a pleasure. Have a good day.